Hi, my name is Stacy and I work with the models here at Zulily. And today we are going to talk about 2020 eye makeup trends, and I'm going to show you how to do a cranberry smoky eye. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to go in with a light transition shade. Today I'm going to be using it's kind of like a brown shade, so you can definitely use any shade that you want. Typically, you're supposed to use one shade lighter than your actual skin tone. This one's going to be a little bit darker because we're going to be doing a smoky eye. So again, I'm just going to take this shadow and I'm just going to lay it starting in the center of my crease and just blow it out to the outside, and then whatever's left on my brush, I'm going to move it into the inside, just in circular motions. Now we're going to move to the other eye, and then I'm just going to take that really big fluffy blender and just kind of like go over all of that just to really buff it out. All right, so next up we're going to use a little bit more of a defined brush, but I kind of want it to not be as densely packed, but I also want the color to be a little bit brighter. We're going to use this kind of like burnt orange shade, but focus it more on the outer part of my crease instead of the inner part. So as you can see, that just really added a lot of depth to the outside of our eyelid. And I'm going to take that original fluffy brush that we laid the first shadow down with and just kind of like marry all that together. Now we're gonna take a longer packing brush and I'm gonna start going in with our cranberry shades. I'm gonna start moving this shade all into the crease, and I'm gonna start out here on the outer part of my crease, and I'm just gonna start moving that shade. And you don't have to do the 2 transition shades in your crease. I just like to because I like to give my eye looks a little bit more depth. And I'm not bringing this shade to the inner portion of my eye. I'm just kind of stopping right here. All right, now I'm gonna take that thinner blending brush and I'm gonna start running it over the outer portion of that cranberry shade. Now we're gonna take that same brush that we just used. I'm gonna start going in with a darker shade to go on the outer portion of our lid. I'm gonna take a pointed blender brush and I'm just gonna take it and I'm just gonna start running on the very, very outer edge of this. So as you can see, it's just kind of adding a little bit more depth and dimension to the outer corner of that look. And then I'm gonna take that blender that we used for our outer edge and I'm just gonna blend all that together and just make it super seamless. All right, now I'm gonna go in with our lid shade. So our lid shade, so everything where you don't see any shadow, I'm actually gonna use this really pretty cranberry shimmer. Again, that same blender, and I'm actually gonna go in with just a different shade, and this is actually kind of like a shimmery cousin to the matte cranberry shade that we used. And I'm just gonna take it and I'm just going to lightly buff in between where that shimmer shade is and the matte shade is, so then they kind of look just like they go together. I'm just gonna take that matte cranberry shade and I'm just gonna start bringing it onto my lower lash line. And using a dark shade like this with a black will definitely make it darker. All right, and then we're just gonna take a smudger brush. So I'm gonna take a mix between this burnt orange shade that we used in our crease and again, that matte cranberry shade, and I'm just gonna start bringing it into the inner corner. All right, so after you're done with this, you can definitely add a wing liner if you want to. I'm not gonna do that today, but I am just gonna add a little bit of mascara and lashes and I'll be back with the final look. So that wraps up the cranberry smoky eye. Make sure you like this video and comment below with your favorite date night look.